Welcome to Dear Creator, Jerry. You're the first filmmaker to come on, so this is really
Woohoo!
special.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
yeah, of course. I honestly haven't had like a conversation with a filmmaker in a while. I mean, you were the last one. We did a collaboration on your channel, so I'll definitely link that for everyone who wants to tune into that conversation. But I've just been recently wondering like how you're feeling with creating in a world that's almost entirely online.
How do I feel that? Oh, interesting. I am actually trying to create online so I can get offline.
Okay.
So I haven't really thought about it that much, but a lot has changed since I've been in LA, for 15 years, and so a lot of these things have changed, and I've done, like I think we talked about last time, the traditional distribution, and but with the way it's changing now, I think there's going to be like some hybrid break off things, and that's what I'm actually interested in. I'm not really
Mhm.
interested in, just YouTube or just TikTok or any of these, but I think there is a lot that can be learned in those environments for creatives, and so that's what I'm kind of experimenting with now because I have a little bit more of a traditional background and I have a degree in broadcast journalism, and so it's yeah, mine was very much just TV and broadcast to start with.
Mhm.
And now that I'm looking back into how TV is working now, and yeah, so it's there's a lot of things that are happening, but I think people, maybe as we go throughout this conversation, should consider what it would look like if they got off the internet a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all like chronically online, it seems like, but I've seen a lot of different trends where people are going more analog or, giving themselves those breaks to like break the habit of always being online. And I find that really interesting as well.
Yeah, I think there is a what I'm learning and throughout this process. I mean, it's I've been doing this for a long time, but this I've been working on this project for like 6 months. The YouTube that I'd had open for a very very long time, really just to watch videos and upload clips to actors. And when I like 6 months ago, when I was like, okay, I'm going to see what it takes to actually get to this. And 2 days ago, it got to the 1,000 subscribers. So
Yeah.
at this rate, it'll be, I mean, since we last talked, it's like it's doubled. So it's like this kind of compounding interest that,
Hmm.
and it's coming off of videos that I did in like August and September. That's where so nothing new, but so I think I'm learning a lot about, if you just follow your gut a little bit, you don't have to lean into all the stuff that's being told to you, is what I mean.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about YouTube in the conversation on your channel that everyone can go listen to. But yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations on 1,000 subscribers because I feel like that's such a big milestone for YouTubers.
I just looked it up right before we did this to see what it is, and I'm in the top 8%. So
Uh,
anybody that's listening, if you get to 1,000, I'm still not making any money. Like I still don't have the 4,000 watch hours, but
mhm,
and that's part of the reason I did it, or I am doing it, is because as an educator, I think that those of us that are still making while we're teaching and kind of crossover to younger generations, we need to start being, I think, a little bit more transparent about what it's really like. And
mhm.
because I've learned, I mean, I got trapped in like the gurus and the people telling me what to do, and I would try it, and it was like, I don't like that video.
Yeah.
So I would redo it, and then when I just like was like, all right, I'm just going to follow my gut because I'm on like a 3 to 5 year path. I'm not trying to. This doesn't need to work today.
Mhm.
And so I think that's what I'm kind of talking about now is trying to get creatives to make actually what you want to see as opposed to what you think the internet wants to see, because the internet changes
Mhm.
daily, um, and just after distributing multiple films and seeing how much it's changed, I think you should really just follow your gut.
Yeah, totally. That's definitely a good point. Can you talk a little bit about like what you share on your YouTube channel and then also like when you started and why you started it? I know you kind of mentioned like as an educator you want to be a little bit more transparent on like the process and like how you
Yeah.
create and things like that. But yeah, like what's on your YouTube channel? What do you talk about? When did you start it?
So the channel started, I think, 12 years ago. Like I just made
Okay.
it so I would have Bronson Creative as a YouTube channel. I didn't know what I was ever going to do with it. And then, I made a couple of short films. And when they got done with their festival runs and all that kind of stuff, they kind of just like landed on the channel. One short film was like a horror short film. We kind of shot in like one day, really, really fast as a camera test. And oddly enough, when I started like taking this seriously about 6 months ago to see if I could monetize, like if I what it would actually take,
Hmm.
That video had like 30,000 views on it from like 8 years ago. And I wish I would have been paying attention 8 years ago when that happened. Cause I literally would just put stuff up and I was working in the industry. Like, I was on set all the time. So
Hmm.
YouTube has, it's changed so much in the last couple, I mean, even in the last like 6 months to a year, to be perfectly honest. Whenever I started watching YouTube in college, it was, chocolate rain and, cat videos.
Hmm.
And now it's like people are actually turning it into almost like their own independent TV stations. And so when I started it as a broadcast, like what my degree was actually, and I've never really used it for that kind of thing, but I was like, okay, what if I kind of turn this into like a TV station?
Hmm.
And so that way, we as it keeps getting bigger and stuff, that other creatives can come on. That's why like the interview where we met, the collaborations. And so but to answer your question without going completely off the rails, what you'll find on there is I say, you've stumbled into my studio. I make films. I teach you how to make films. And this is what we're going to do today. So ideally, if you're a creator or a consumer, I want to try to get both of those people into the conversation because I think that is going to be the next level of this discourse that we're having because creatives now know how extortionary it is for all of these kind of entities. So if you've never sold a film or you're listening, and like you said, I'm the first filmmaker on your channel, so maybe nobody's
Hmm.
listening as a filmmaker right now, but this is all art making. I think moving forward is you're going to have to kind of control. I don't like using the word control, but you're going to need some transparency of like what's actually happening. So,
Hmm.
10 years ago, I sold my first movie, got into rain dance and dances with films on at the Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard. That's a very cool thing to have. Then you get distribution. And then,
Hmm.
5 years later, you get your movie back with an email that says we have 13 cents for you. And that's kind of like not, I mean, it sounds hyperbolic, but I can show you the email. So
Hmm.
yeah, so my channel is basically kind of like opening those gates and everything that I've learned. And I'm not making it to make money. And I think that's the might be part of what's coming through. And I keep saying that I can only do this. I don't know how long I can do it. Thankfully, I can do it right now. But those of you that are listening, they're like, I want to start a YouTube channel. There is no money in it anyway. So the people that are saying you can make $1 million off of it, it was more like I wanted to get into the mix and start telling the truth as opposed
Yeah.
to. And so it was like I think there's this shift where a lot of us that have been doing it for a while are now kind of coming into the space
Hmm.
and going. There's a lot of just like weird information out there about what the reality of being creative for a living is, and you know my experience has just not been any of that. And so when I got into the classroom, I just realized that, even students didn't really know about like how it actually works if they want to go do this. And I just thought as a teacher, that is not something I want to be interested in, setting a student up or a new creative up for saying that this is going to be all roses and it's just not. So
Right.
yeah, so on the channel, it gets a little philosophical, it gets a little weird. Right now, I'm going to try to make a micro budget feature this year, basically in this garage by myself, and it's the most ambitious film I've ever made.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I'm going to build a set in here. I'm going to build miniatures. I'm learning how to broadcast over the air using old things, and so I'm going to show all of that. And hopefully, whenever that gets done, whenever it releases, that there will be an audience to watch it. Because even with distributed movies, I've never made any money. I don't know who's
Hmm.
actually watched them. I don't know if anybody's watched them. And so what I learned in 6 months of doing this and having the website and all that kind of stuff is like now I get to see the analytics. I get to see where
Yeah.
people are coming from. I get to see, one of the pages on my website has like a 7 minute retention. That's incredible. Like if I would rather somebody spend 7 minutes on something learning and not being forced ads every 2 minutes. And let's see
Hmm.
what happens with that. So that's a little bit of a wandering answer to it, I suppose. There's a lot
No,
of
I
different
love
things that are
it.
going on with it, but
Yeah, I think that's awesome. It kind of reminds me of like just the process of sharing the behind the scenes and a lot of like new, I guess maybe it's been always a marketing strategy in a way, but like really grabbing people's attention by sharing the process, the behind the scenes, like your thought process, not even just like the physical process of the creation part of it. And yeah, I think that's going to be really cool. I'm excited to tune into that. So is this film what you were talking about before where you're like starting to like get into the pre-production process of
mhm.
that? Like what does that typically look like? Or can you give us a little sneak peek of like what this film is going to be about?
It's a little experimental, but I've been writing it for since 2016.
Oh wow.
Um, And so, yeah, I started writing in 2016. It's not remotely about what it was when it started, but
The
oh yeah,
process, right?
yeah, yeah. It's there'll be a video coming out in like a week where I literally rewrite a scene in real time to show you what that process is. As I've changed my mind on what this is really about. So it's like I have to
Hmm.
go through and restructure the location and where it's from, and
Yeah.
but yeah, the film basically follows a family over the course of the entire child's life. So there's a brother and sister, and they lose their mother early on, and basically the brother can never like thinks it's the father's fault, and things
Mm.
continue to happen. And by the time he gets around to actually having the conversation, after 40, 50 years, when he comes back when his father has dementia, he can't have the conversation anymore because he doesn't remember what happened. Yeah, it's kind of a personal kind of film, just about like, me thinking about the choices that I've made to have this life, this creative life,
Hmm.
and the conversations that I've had to have, and more importantly, the conversations I still haven't had. And while I'm doing it, I'm actually having those conversations, and I'm talking to people that I haven't talked to in a long time. And but yeah, but more importantly, I wanted to take everything that I'd learned over 3 films in 15 years of like all the types of filmmaking that I really liked, and see what I could do if I made that the film. So the film is forcing me into situations for things I don't know how to do.
Ooh, a
So I'm,
challenge.
yeah, so because I'm going to be doing them kind of by myself. So, I'm
Hmm.
building a model right now that will be used with like rear projection to create a scene when he's outside, because I don't have money for this made up world I'm making in the middle of the film. The
And
interior of it,
what's a rear
yeah.
projection?
So a rear projection is using like a projector, and you put up a screen. So
Mm.
it's a projector, you put the screen like up to a window, and then you shine from behind it. So it looks like it's actually whatever the thing is. It's green screen before green screen, basically.
Oh,
You're doing
cool.
it in you're
Nice.
doing it in camera. So I'm making here, I'll show you.
Awesome. Yay, a tutorial, a demonstration.
I won't be able to show you that whole thing, but I'll show you. So like this is like the location that I'm starting to build.
Wow, cool.
And then when this is all built, I will actually be building the set in that hole behind that curtain in my
Oh,
garage.
cool.
So, and I'm going to show you how to build a flat and how to do these things. And when I started teaching it all on YouTube a couple of months ago, I realized the way that the algorithm works, it's not really, it doesn't insinuate you to actually learn anything. And
Mm.
so I started learning when I was watching tutorials to figure out like pacing and what people were doing. Most of them, they weren't actually telling you how to do the skill. They were just trying to get you to watch 2 or 3 more videos, because the way the algorithm
Mm.
works, if I get you to watch 3 in a row, it just blows up the channel. Like if I can get you to binge watch
Okay.
it, this is just a
Yeah.
little fun fact for anybody that's looking into YouTube right now.
I'm
If you can
literally
get some,
writing notes.
if you can get somebody to binge watch, like that tells the algorithm like, oh, somebody really liked that, and it really shoves it. Um,
Okay.
but what I realized with that is it incentivizes creators to not answer a question
Um,
and be like, oh, and like, so it'll be like so cryptic or edited so fast you don't know what's going on. And
mhm.
yeah, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it a little bit different. And if you only watch one of my videos, that is fine with me. You don't need to watch all of them. I don't really, ideally you watch one, it gets you your skill, and then you go make your movie, and then you share it with me when you're done and we talk about it. That would be a better thing for me. So I'm really approaching it more of like an educator. And so this film was, when I started in 2016, was definitely about just like pushing myself and all the things that we said we didn't have money for, or we didn't know how to do. And now the tools are just incredible. And so I'm learning that most of this stuff is like, okay, I can actually do this now. These skills
Mhm.
can be learned, but I'm going to have to move really slow. Also, I think
Yeah.
most filmmakers, beginner filmmakers, are having to do this basically alone, which is unfortunate, but also fortunate because you get to do whatever you want, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. You get to make
Um,
the decisions because like nobody's really like managing you or trying to, I don't know how that works in the film industry if
well,
you
for
work
me,
with a bigger
I've
company.
self-funded everything. So like with the people that
Uh-huh.
I've worked with. So most of the time it's, 2 or 3 of us that are creating the film. We kind of like pile money together and make it. So
Okay.
yeah, there's only been a couple, like there's been short films that I've worked on that have been work for hire where somebody's hired me and things like that. And most of those have never come out.
Really? That's interesting. Like they
That's why
just
I
never
started doing it on
launched
my
it.
own. Yeah, I don't know. I it
Oh,
just there's so much time that passes between a film. Like I told you this when I started writing in 2016.
yeah.
If anybody's paying attention, that was a decade ago. And so life happens, things change. If anybody remembers
Hmm.
2016, that was a different time to be alive. And so uh yeah, so I was like, okay, if when you're making it kind of on your own, it takes a little bit longer, but when I'm ready for you to see it, I can let you see it. And you just can't
Yeah.
do that when other people's money is involved, and you can't do that when other people are kind of funding it. And so, but that does mean I've worked as like the gaffer on my own short films. I've been a sound mixer on my own short films. But in doing
Mm,
that, I've also learned how to do everything. So
yeah.
therefore, if somebody can't, or I don't have the money or anything, I can do the experiment, try it. And so
Hmm.
at first doing these little tutorials and things with the rear projection and stuff was like, oh, I can do this as a test to see how it works. And then I'll hire a crew. And as I started doing it, I was like, oh, I'll just do this part by myself and then hire the crew for the bigger scenes when I actually have to pull something off. This can go slower, which is it's also just like how do you like to pace, I'm sure you
Hmm.
find this in talking with creatives of all disciplines. We're told that there's only like one way to do things.
Hmm.
And then you start making it like, I don't like doing it that way. So ideally, when you're watching my channel, it's like you're seeing me, I have a lot of weird skills from my life of, I know how to work on cars. I know how to repair things. I love riding motorcycles.
Hmm.
So I have a wood shop in the corner where I can build these things, so it's not
Yeah.
just, I think a lot of people just go like, oh, I'm a filmmaker. I just direct and, you know, come help me make my project. That world just doesn't exist anymore. So as a teacher and as an educator and as just like a student of this craft, like I'm really interested in seeing what's next for it. And I think there's a lot of really cool things that are about to start happening because anybody, you have a TV station in your pocket.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
like just upload it, see what happens. Like you don't have to
Yeah,
wait on anybody
totally.
anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the the process of like building and creating on your own and like wearing all of these hats reminds me of like how a lot of creators and business owners also wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And as an educator, I'm sure like being a student is also helping your students, like you as a student yourself and experimenting and learning different ways of doing things, like you're then able to teach them how to do it as well. And you are like the credible person to learn from in that sense.
I'll take that, the credible person. I remember telling
Credible.
them early. I
Hmm.
remember telling early on because I mean, when I got into teaching 5 years ago, the job I got, I mean, I'd never taught, so it's just like I only had like the real world experience. Granted, at that
Hmm.
point, I'd done 3 features. I'd been working for a while, and so that's what they're like. Actually, that's what we like is like you actually know what it is like being from the inside. And I was like, okay, just so you know, because I'm not a classroom teacher. So, but when I got into the classroom and I started like seeing all these other things, and then it got me to learning other things, and to be fair, like I don't know if I would have known what I'm doing right now would have been possible till I saw like a student just be like, naivety and ignorance is bliss. Like you don't know
Yeah.
what you can't do. And so I would get a first and it's like, whoa, how did you even think to do that? And they're like, I don't know, I just put the camera over there and it looks cool, right? And you're like, okay, well, let's talk about what it actually means. But yes, it does look cool. Let's try that. And that's why I started filming stuff on my phone and trying to make short experimental films on an iPhone. I'd never done that. It's like if I don't have a cinema
Mhm.
camera and 20 people around me, like we're taught that that's not a real movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, nobody really knows. Nobody knows what you light it with. Nobody knows what you film it with. It's like, so if you have a point of view, it doesn't need to be in 4K. It could be on a mini DV or VCR camera. Maybe that's
Hmm.
the film you want to make. And so when I got into the classroom, I just threw all that stuff I'd learned away from set. And I was just like, okay, what is it that I really liked about making movies? Why did I get into that? Because when I left being on set every day, I was pretty bored with it. It's just like was like paint by numbers. I think at one point you said you were like corporate. So I mean, the film industry is basically like corporate for filmmaking. It's
I've
it's a very
never
similar thing.
I've never worked corporate, but I've worked like the service industry, or I work with a client right now, which kind of feels corporate-y because I'm like working with them one-on-one in like an
Okay.
office and stuff like that. So I get what you're saying for sure.
There's so much money involved that when you get to
Mm,
that point, like taking a risk, like I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, when like taking that risk actually affects every employee that's there. So
mm,
when you're doing that, I kind of understand it, but I also think when you're making what I'm making, which is like $5,000 to $50,000 micro budget features, let's take a
hmm.
chance. There's like no money. My last feature was $7,000. Nobody would have given me $7,000 to do that experiment. It's improvised. We did it in 7 days. It's you know
Hmm.
um, we had less than 7 people on it. I mean, there was what, four of us in the car for most of the movie. Like nobody would have given us even 7,000 for that. But if we did it ourselves, then we get to experiment, and that led to so many just really interesting things that
Hmm.
I wouldn't be talking to you right now if it wasn't for that movie, because that got me into
Yeah.
teaching and that got me here and here and here. And so I think when you stop thinking about the money so much, and I understand everybody has to make money, so please don't come
Hmm.
at me. But you just realize that in creative fields, there's like other places that the money comes from, and
Hmm.
sometimes there's like a weird delay that happens. Like that teaching was a 10-year delay, and then I got 5 years of basically consistent kind of income. So, but just make learning with students and being a student and also watching an adult fail, I'm sure is really helpful for anybody.
Mm,
It's like
yeah.
they were like, everything. And I was like, that's ridiculous. It's impossible.
Is
There's gonna be
is
things
there
that I don't know. That'd be crazy for me to say I know all of this.
yeah, yeah. I mean, do we all know everything? Hmm. I feel like
The
there's
internet
always
would
something
lead
to
you to think
learn.
there is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, teachers are supposed to know everything, Like
I don't know
yeah,
how
I get
that became a thing.
I have
Like,
no clue.
no, it's like I know a lot about this specific part of it because, like,
Yeah.
um, but also I was, just like learning in tandem with a new artist, I think is like a really powerful thing for as you get older because after you've done like the same thing over and over and over and over again, like
Hmm.
taking that chance is really hard. Like leaving a job that pays you even if you hate it is very
Yeah.
hard. But also knowing that you can, you know, like I hope that the students all they got out of it was like you can do more with less and you already have enough. That was like
Hmm.
all I was like, if you want to make this, you can do it, but you're gonna have to reconsider like what it is, like why you're doing it.
Yeah, I think the why is the really important part because sometimes
The
people
most
can
important.
be a little bit like reactionary or like
Yeah.
self-destructive and things like that.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
You mentioned like experimentation a lot. Do you think that's like the key thing to your process? You're an experimenter.
These last 5 years, 100%. I mean, I guess you could zoom back and the things I was trying earlier in my career were also like that. Cause, my
Hmm.
first feature we shot over 3 years. We flew out 3 times. We let the actor age in real time so the hair could get longer. We'd go back because we had no money. We
Wow.
were like, I don't have makeup money to make that look realistic. I'm like, we got to wait 6 months and go back.
Gotta be all natural.
Yeah, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's so cool that he like actually grew his beard." And I was like, "Well, because we didn't have money to make it look good, so I said we're gonna go wait." But yeah, so that was like experimenting, and then that was with the horror, which was my first feature, and then we made this film called Little Hand, which was supposed to be a movie that was gonna have an actual budget. That ended up falling apart, and we had to make it a little bit differently. But yeah, that one was also kind of an experiment, I guess, because we had seen so many indie films at festivals from our first movie that were about like failing relationships and they were all kind of set, it's like conversations in one room, and so we took
Mhm.
that conceit and was like, okay, what's our version of that if you have like this single room kind of movie. And so we made Little Hand, which was basically on its surface just about a failing relationship, but on underneath was like like this drama that was Groundhog's Day. So the woman wakes up after she's broken up with her boyfriend and he's still there, and basically she's going to have to figure out why this all happened through all these weird conversations with him, and he
Mm.
doesn't know what's going on. And
Yeah.
so she knows 100% that this is not real, so we like kind of went backwards through it in this one house. And yeah, and then the third feature was improvised. So I guess I've been improvising for and experimenting for a while, but
Mhm.
doing experimental films during the pandemic. So because I had to start making alone, so I just started
Mhm.
making experimental films like in my apartment. I would take one camera and try something weird with it, or I'd try something with music. And doing that like taught me all these little weird things that I just never learned about the process. And then that's when I started writing this feature in 2016, was like, okay, now I can take all these little things that are and see if I can kind of weave this weird narrative through this
Mhm.
basically like life of a family. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but once again, it's taken 10 years to get to this point to even start talking about it. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we're able to talk about it today. So, with this, like, you said like you're using miniatures or something like that. So, is this kind of like a stop motion or like what do you mean by that?
yeah, so I'm making basically like a miniature scale like house, and so
Okay.
this will be eventually covered, and it'll look like a house. And in the world, he's in his imagination. He's basically using this to cope with something else that's happened in his life, and so he lives inside this what looks like kind of like a like a little one room kind of cabin in the middle of nowhere. Uh,
Okay.
I knew I didn't have the money to go find that cabin or build it in the middle of nowhere. So I was like, I started looking up all these old film techniques that I'd never used, like rear projections and stuff like that. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh, I can just make this model and then find whatever background I want, rear project it, put it in front of it, make sure
Mm.
that the depth of field works. And then for the interior, because it's not real, I can just build it in my garage. Because the interior of it is
Okay.
only like kind of like 6 by 9.
Yeah.
It's a very small thing. And I have this kind of hole over here that nothing happens in right off camera. And I was like, oh, okay, what happens now if I build a set in my garage? And how many
Hmm.
people are building out of their garage or out of their backyard? And it was just like, so then it just kind of turned into like, it's like, I'm going to try to DIY it as much as possible. I'm going
Hmm.
to try to use all of the things that I've learned. And I'm also going to try to work with everybody that's been like, hey, what can we do to help? So if somebody's been
Hmm.
asking you what they can do to help, let them help you.
Take
And
advantage.
yeah, because it's like I need a school. And I just lost the school that I worked at. Like this is where it was going to get filmed. That's closed. But so
Yeah.
now I'm talking to schools about like, could I come in and teach like a workshop where I
Hmm.
teach your students media literacy and how to do these things? And in doing it, we're going to make a scene for my feature. The payment would just be me, the location fee. And
Hmm.
so, I'm trying to barter. I'm trying to do other things because the money has just gotten so out of whack. And I don't think anybody understands how it actually works. So it's just throwing around numbers that, sometimes we don't need money. Sometimes I just need a location, or sometimes I need a friend, or sometimes I need,
Yeah.
and sometimes you can get a friend to help you for an hour. But the way films are kind of traditionally taught, it's like the work days are 10 to 12 hours. Nobody's going to
Okay.
volunteer for that long. But what if I build the whole set and then I ask a friend that, wanted to learn something about lighting to be like, well, will you come over and help me light it for an hour? Now
Hmm.
everybody's kind of winning out of that scenario. And nothing I'm doing with this is making money. We'll get to that at some point. But the way that it's going to come back to like making money is like I want this to be like a profit sharing thing. And so
Okay.
I think there's a way to do it that because the longer you do this, you just realize there is no money.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
so you got to figure out something else for that part of it. And also figure out how to maybe one of your friends is really good at marketing. Maybe one of your friends is really good at graphic design. Maybe one of your friends is this. And you're all in. That's how we made the first two movies. It was like, we're in our 20s, naive, and we flew a group of people to Michigan on our own dime and shot a movie at a lake. Uh,
Hmm.
and so has it ever made any money? No. But did I teach? Did I get to this point? Yeah, there were other things that happened, but I think instead of trying to just get a distribution deal or trying to get something at like this highest level, what would happen if you banded with your friends and platformed your friends? Like talk about your friends movie instead of the Netflix movie you watch. Like that will do a
Hmm.
lot of work, but it's more of trying to figure out how to, yeah, get creatives to take a little bit more ownership for that last part, which is the distribution, because that's the part where you really get taken advantage of. And at that point, you just want the movie scene. So we sign a lot of really bad deals, including this guy that's done it twice. So
Okay.
I'm not doing it again. So I'm trying to
You've
figure out
learned your lesson.
yes, I've learned my lesson. I signed two different versions, both of them total for those two movies. I think we spent over probably $35,000 or so on the two of them. And we
Wow.
made about $1,100 over those two distribution deals,
Okay.
all of which
Interesting.
went back to like the actors that had like points and stuff. So, but
Yeah.
I talked about this at one point with somebody else, and because it's really bad whenever your crew and everybody knows that you got distribution, and then you're like, but we're not making any money, and
Mm.
nobody believes that. So now it's time for filmmakers to start like there is no money. Even if you sell it, there still is no money. And
Hmm.
now they just own your intellectual property or your IP for kind of a long period of time, and that really kind of puts you behind because you could have been like, if I'd have just put this up 5 years ago, 7 years ago, in 6 months I got
Hmm.
this to YouTube to 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Imagine 6 years ago if I would have just put this up. And so I think some filmmakers are probably going to hear this and go like, oh, then let's just self distribute. We have a monetized channel. If you have a monetized channel and you're selling your movie for free, just put it on your channel. You're going to make more money.
Mm.
Tubi doesn't pay. None of these platforms really pay. Tubi paid the most, and I think I made $180 in a year and a half or something.
I just
So
learned what Tubi was. It's
yeah,
like, what is
yeah.
Tubi?
Just ad supported, yeah. So it's called AVOD, which is just ad-based video on demand. So the ads pay
Mm.
for that's why you get to watch it for free, as
Okay.
those ads. So yeah, but I also it comes down to like what your goal is with it. And early
Yeah.
on, my goal was to climb the ladder, was to be like, okay, this $20,000 movie we made ourselves, we were like this close to getting $100,000 for our second movie by investors. Like it was
Mm.
like the week before when they pulled the plug. So we had to cancel everything. And then when that happened, I remember one of the emails or one of the phone calls with whoever the point of contact was. They're like, oh, well, you can't really do this without their money. And I without missing a beat, I said, "Oh, that's where you're wrong."
There's always
And
that person
yeah,
who's
yeah,
like the villain who changes your
yeah,
idea of it, and you're like, actually, I'm gonna prove you wrong and
yeah. So
do
we
it
took
anyways.
we took about 4 months after that fell apart. We rewrote the script because we had to get rid of the set build. There was like huge set build in the middle of
Oh
it that we were gonna have to. And
wow.
I was like, okay, we got to use an actual house now, so let's get it back into a real apartment. So we kind of
Mhm.
constructed that reality again, and then yeah, then we made it. And after we finished it, it was like 6 months of post, and then it premiered at Rain Dance in London, and then it
Oh
got
wow.
distribution, and then 4 years passed, and we got no money. So it was
Mm.
like we figured out how to bypass the investor part of it and just make it and get it to where we needed it to be. And that was a SAG film. We payrolled people. Like it was like that was a
Mhm.
and we only it was like a $16,000 movie. We just did it. We did it like one day at a time over 6 weeks because that's like how we it was like we'll do it this day because everybody was working on other
Yeah.
things. And yeah, and then when it got to Rain Dance and we got ended up getting distribution, and then the same kind of thing happened again with the distribution. And after doing it twice, changing where the money, like how the money kind of came in. But then after you do it twice, you're just like, oh, it's like, unless you have a name talent in your movie, which is
Oh,
all
okay.
every email I got, it was like, you don't have a name talent in it. So we can't really do anything until either the director is a name, which, I'm sure your audience is like, who is this guy? Which is like, nobody knows me. That's fine.
Now they
But
do.
maybe they do now. Thank you. Thank you. And so, but yeah, you basically, you just start to learn that these things are, yeah, the industry that's kind of how it was built to start with. It's kind of preyed on, the ignorance of it, the gatekeeper thing of it. It's like you just never
Mhm.
know how all of it works. So it takes you, it took 15 years of making 3 features and doing all of that to figure out exactly what part of it, like where the
Like what
breakdown
the
was.
process is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just realize, oh, it's everybody wants their movie to be seen. That's why they sign these deals with the distributors, and then they still don't get seen. Some of these films just get put on shelves.
And do you have to
Yeah,
pay to be distributed with the distributed?
sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
I never signed one of those deals, thankfully. I knew about that going into it. So if you're listening and you're a filmmaker about to sign a deal, make sure that you're not taking on debt to sign that deal. Most filmmakers
Yeah.
will be. And so there'll be stuff in there that says like first receipts. These will be some keywords you can look for. First receipts. You'll have to pay for like marketing expenses. So both of ours, they covered all the marketing. We didn't have to pay anything, which was good. And then it was a
Hmm.
50-50 split, which
Okay.
50-50 is pretty good with no, I mean, it was still 50% of basically nothing. But yeah, so if you're going to sign a deal, a lot of times with bigger distributors, you'll come out with, you'll never make any money because they will, all the marketing they spend, you have to pay them back for that like it's labor. So like
Wow.
your movie's just going to start taking on debt. So they're going to get paid back all of that from your first receipts. And then they're going to split 50-50 after whatever's left. You're not going to have any transparency. You're not going to know when that's over, things like that.
Mm.
So, I've never really, all of the receipts for anything when you get a distribution deal, or from my experience, has been like a list of where the film is at and a number. That's it. So it'd be like
Wow.
Tubi.tv, $11, Amazon.com, $4. And then, at the end, it'd be like your 50%, whatever's left.
Okay.
Just for reference, that's not what we see on the back end as creators. There's a lot of metadata, and none of that gets transferred in traditional distribution deals. So you'll never know who your audience is. It's just whatever they say it is. And yeah, I think I talked
Hmm.
to the distributors maybe 3 times out of 5 years. Like they just never talk to you. They never call you. They never, yeah.
Geez, they're like the Men in Black or something, like where you can't like really
I think they
have
just
a
know that.
relationship.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know why. And so the thing I'm working on next is a way to fix that, but I don't think it's up here anymore. But I had written on the board a week or so ago. I was like, why is nobody doing this? And for one, it
Hmm.
doesn't make a lot of money, but there's a lot of companies still doing it on YouTube where they're taking all the money and they're not giving people their cut of it.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
industry has already came into the internet space as well, and they're
Hmm.
trying to they know where it's headed. Like YouTube is TV now.
It totally is. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like we watch YouTube more than anything, and
I
we
don't
don't
have any
even
other
pay for like
apps. Yeah.
cable or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I have like an over the air antenna. And so there is still a lot of free ATV out there. If you're listening, you can get an antenna, and there's in LA, there's like 300 channels that come over the air. It's crazy.
There you go.
But the whole kind of system has been like, oh, there's no TV left out there. You got to pay for the app. I mean, that's why people pay for Peacock. That's just
Oh,
NBC. You can get an antenna. You can watch NBC. Like you'll get the
yeah.
movies and stuff, and but the live streaming of it, that's just the NBC live broadcast. You can do that over your air. You don't need an app for that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really interesting. It sounds like you have like kind of a hot like perspective, like spicy take or whatever to really share the alternative to distributing, like being a self-distributor instead of going to like the other people, the distributor, I can't even say the word,
Distributors, yeah.
distributors, and
Um,
getting like caught in like those just traps almost where you like put all of this work into something for it to possibly not even be seen. Sounds like a gamble, but it's important that you're talking about it, especially for younger filmmakers, because you did mention like there's a lot of gatekeeping in the industry and things like that. Is there anything else that is gate kept that you feel like filmmakers should know, or even creators who are trying to build YouTube channels?
Oh, the YouTube thing is probably the worst offender of it all. But I've made a couple. As soon as this gets monetized, I'm going to make a video about like what it was really like, what you're actually getting yourself into. Because like I said, I think there's a lot of people that are selling courses and
Hmm.
whatever about how to start your YouTube channel, how to do this. And I said this to somebody on I think Threads yesterday because everybody's like writing about how they're crashing out.
Ooh,
And it's like if you're trying to make a channel like Mr. Beast, I'll use that just because I think it's like, I think he said something like 1 out of 3 people on the planet have seen a Mr. Beast video or something crazy. But
wow, that's a lot.
um, like that's a corporation, like that's owned by a corporate entity that is ran like a business. So I think one of the things you said whenever I interviewed you and I took to heart was like working with people at your level. And
Mm,
when you said that, I wrote it down and like I literally backtracked everything and was like, okay, I'm going to start kind of try to market this to like people that are like where I'm at, not where I think I'm going. And
yeah.
that way they can kind of understand the process. But yeah, the YouTube thing is, yeah, I'm in the process of writing about it. I write about it on Substack more as like a journalist talking about it.
Mhm.
Because when, I don't think people understand that, what's it like 92% of channels never make any money. You're going to work for free until it gets monetized. You make no money off of that. Whenever you finally get monetized, you only get 55% of it. YouTube takes 45% of it while they're taking 100% of it while you're not monetized. And it's like, but the whole time you have, when you type in like, how do you make a YouTube video? You have 100 million view videos about like, do this, and this. Most of those
Mhm.
people are corporations. They're owned by a corporate entity. They don't need you to learn anything. They just need you to watch because that turns into money. So I think it's just
Mhm.
more of like right at where I'm at now is like, I just want to talk to consumers and be like, this is
Yeah.
what the reason it's like this is because everybody's watching these things. And I'm not telling you to watch it off, watch whatever you want to watch, but knowing that your time is money.
Mhm.
Like I'm trying to steal your time. And once you realize that, and you're like, okay, so now I've gotten to a point where it's like, I'm going back and re-editing some of these long ones with what I've learned and be like, oh, this is really the only 4 minutes that I care about you listening to. That's the new video. I'm going to re-upload it. Like, let's stop wasting their time. Just get to the point. I'll
Yeah.
thank the YouTube commenter that said that at one point to me. Will this guy just get to the point?
Did you
But
get that comment?
I did get that one time, and I wrote him, and I was like, "Well, I'm trying a little bit slower things, so this might not be your channel, but thank you for the feedback."
People are ruthless. They just tell you
Yeah,
how it is.
but it's like this many people. I don't know if you notice that too. It's like this many people that take up the most amount of headspace of everybody. And for so long, as an artist, now
Mhm.
like I was like, I don't want to put it up because I can't take the feedback. But now I was like, oh my god, for a filmmaker to be able, I can put up a rough cut of my movie right now, let everybody just destroy it for 3 or 4 days, turn it back to private, take the notes, go fix it, and then send it to the film festival. I don't like.
Ooh, that's
It's
such a good
not like
idea.
you're showing people these works in progress, and
Mhm.
some videos have 10,000 views, some of them have. I don't
Mhm.
care because those 10 people that watched that actually wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
It's like the reason more people didn't watch it is because I didn't format it in the way that this app wanted it, blah 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 blah. Somebody else
Yeah.
still found it. And what I started learning from that, and that's what I think taught me the most about the YouTube thing, was these videos that would have 30 or 40 views. Some of them would have 14 and 15 subscribers from those 40 views.
Oh, wow. That's
I was like,
good.
why is YouTube not pushing this more if that many people
Yeah.
are following? Like, only 40 people came, but 12 people subscribed to my channel from this 4-minute video that nobody watched.
Mhm.
And and then I started listening to everybody complaining about how low their views were on YouTube and TikTok and blah blah blah. And I was just like, it's just kind of a slap in the face because those 14 people are listening to you right now, and you're complaining
Right.
to them that nobody's watching. Like you're
No,
complaining to the
yeah.
one person that's watching. So, but I think you just when you start making it for yourself and you're like, this is part of the practice, and also now that I get to like experiment with different techniques in real time, like
With
if they
like
don't,
no pressure for it to
there's
be
no pressure.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this doesn't work. This was a cool video. Somebody learned how to build a set for theirs, and then I'll go do it a different way when I make the movie. But it
Hmm.
also somebody learned that for $10 worth of balsa wood, you could make a set
Yeah.
on your counter or whatever, and then film it. And it's just kind of fun. Like I just wanted to make making movies fun again. It was just it had gotten to a
Yeah.
point where it was all business being in the industry, and yeah, just nobody was willing to take a chance because when there's this whole thing in the industry is like you're only as good as your last project. That's what we're all told.
Mm.
So nobody wants to put up their last project because if it's not good, the game's over.
The
And
expectations are higher and
yeah,
everything.
and it just really doesn't foster creativity. It doesn't get you to challenge yourself, and so yeah.
No, yeah, it sounds like, I mean, I could just hear the passion for the creativity and experimentation and just teaching and also sharing like what you've created. Were you always into filmmaking? For me, like as a kid, I would make music videos on Windows Movie Maker or
Oh, okay.
like things like that. Like, were you that type of kid who would like make home films or anything?
Oddly enough, no. Like, I mean, I grew up in, like my earliest memories are in a trailer in a town of 300 people.
Hmm.
And then, like I would end up, moving to Kansas City, sixth grade, I think, fifth or sixth grade, something. Well, I guess it was third, and then I moved back to a small town in sixth grade. But
Hmm.
my parents are divorced, so I would go to my dad's every summer, and this is when Blockbuster was still open and movie rental stores, things like that. And so we would just go, and there used to be like a 99-cent wall, and we would literally just go through like his version of film history. So it was like
Mm.
movies he liked as a kid, and that's like, and so I got really into it. And but yeah, no, it was just like I liked movies. I didn't think there was a reality. I mean, when you're growing up and your earliest memories are a trailer park, and then like you don't
Yeah.
you're a middle class kid, and like nobody's went to college, nobody's done anything like this. All my family members work in the trades. My dad's was a mechanic for a long time, and that's why I have these weird skills now. And
Okay.
but yeah, so and then after high school, I went to college. I did a semester and was about to drop out because I was bored out of my mind. I was going to do marketing, and
Mm.
I just saw a life where I was going to be basically sitting in a cubicle. And really, when I went into marketing is because I wanted to tell stories, like and since I had the car background, it was like, oh, I could do this in the automotive field. I know how cars work. I've been working on
Yeah.
them since I was a little kid. And then, yeah, the girl I was dating at that time was just like, she was like, well, what do you really want to do? And I was like, well, I
Hmm.
love music. I love creating. I love these things. And there happened to be, because at that point I was like, I was in show choir in high school, like a competitive show choir all 4 years of high school. A lot of weird things that I've done throughout my life that led to this point. But so I got into the radio station there, which was like an NPR affiliate. And I would like broadcast at night, like at midnight. I would be like the guy
Cool.
introducing songs. And I was like, so that like scratched my kind of itch for the creating. And then I found out that there was like a broadcast, the closest thing they had to movie making was called broadcast media.
Mm.
And where you learn, because we had the PBS affiliate on our campus. So you learned about all that, how to actually broadcast. And then, yeah, I got a job at the college that I went to. And I started making videos for the library, and yeah, never kind of looked back. I joined like an independent filmmakers group in Kansas City and made there. And the first film I made won, audience choice and grand prize. And it was like a
Nice.
10-hour film festival. It's, I put it up on the YouTube channel. You can go watch it. It's, my first film from I ever made. And it's not good, but you got to start somewhere. And when I won that, because I was like clearly not the best film, like technically, I looked at them, I watched them all, and at the end, I was like, I even went up to the judges. And I was like, why did mine win? And they
Why
said,
me?
yeah, and which is like, I mean, they were probably pretty shocked by it. It was like, but at that point, I'm like 20 years old, so it's like I need to know why.
Hmm.
And they said you were the only one that had a story,
Interesting.
like because it's a 10-hour film festival, so a lot of times it's just like
Yeah.
a scene that gets thrown up on screen because it's so hard to
Okay.
make. But I actually made like a character arc. I made like a story, and
Yeah.
that's when I started to realize I was like, okay, I'd watched so much TV, I'd watched so much movies. I was very interested in like what was happening subtextually in movies. Like I didn't even care about the technical when
Hmm.
I was younger. I was like all these these people's lives, like everything I'm learning from just like people I know nothing about from all over
Hmm.
the world. And yeah, so it just gave me a really cool, interesting perspective. And also, I think when you know you're starting that small in a trailer of 300 people, your world is pretty tiny. But you know,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm like putting in a VCR tape and then I'm watching this movie from this faraway place in another language, and you're like, oh my God, these people are doing the same thing I'm doing. They just like, and then you start to realize how much we have in common. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so and then yeah, but once I started making, then it was kind of, you know, I did college. I made a feature in college that we turned into our like internship and practicum. We had to pitch that. That was like our big project to graduate. I got into a festival, and then yeah, 6 months later I moved out here, and now I've been here almost 16 years.
Wow.
So
Okay,
yeah, it kind
nice.
of goes by fast.
Yeah, I love to hear about the journey, like where it all started. And I feel like everyone's stories are so different. So I feel like
The
it's
hardest
just
part was
really
backing out of my
interesting.
driveway in Kansas City. That was the
Oh,
hardest part of the
really?
journey. Yeah. The hardest part is going to be leaving or trying something
Yeah.
new. To anybody that's listening, like backing out of your driveway and being like, I'm going that way until I hit the water, basically. And there was, you know, I moved out here and had a month of rent paid for and like $2,000 in a savings account and was just
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, let it rip. Thankfully,
Yeah.
my dad was like, you know, I don't know what's going to happen, but, you know, there's always a place to stay. And that was
Oh,
like,
that's
and that was
nice.
enough to be like, you know, if anything goes wrong, I can come and live in this basement for 6 months till I get back here. I didn't have to move back home though. We figured it out. But
That's good. That's
yeah.
good. Yeah, I think what was really cool to hear was like you asked the festival or the awards or the judges, like,
Mhm.
why me? I don't think people are asking enough questions. It's almost like they're always like go, 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 but they don't give themselves enough time or like, yeah, time to like reflect on what maybe they could have changed or done better or learned from things. So I think that's like an important, like key thing for people to remember as well when they're like creating films or building out their YouTube channel and stuff. It's like have little milestones to like check in with yourself, check in with the analytics, check in with your audience, things like that.
Yeah, usually every Monday I kind of sit down and you know I've been writing all the videos I've done on this wall over here and so I can see when I've hit those kind of things. So it gives me something to look back on and yeah, don't be so focused on the future that you forget like what you're actually why you're doing this and
Hmm.
because it's like all the people you're going to meet, all the things that are going to happen along the way. I think are just you can't be prepared for them. So and if the whole time you're just like rushing to the end, you're going to miss all those people. Sometimes stopping, having an hour conversation with somebody, and then getting
Hmm.
started again is actually the best thing for your project. And so, or just doing literally anything else. I mean, that's why I ride
Yeah.
motorcycles and like you know, I sometimes I just need to not do this to figure out like
Hmm.
why I'm doing it. Like, what do I actually
Yeah.
want to get out of this? And you bring up a really good point about the reflection, and that's something I have to it's like the hardest part of the process to teach a new filmmaker is like no you need to go back watch everything you did and write down everything you like, everything you don't like, everything you should have changed before you showed it to us. Now that you've
Hmm.
seen it with a group, and yeah, and be like, what are you going to do to make it better next time? Like, I like this, I
Yeah.
like this. This was out of focus. I got to do this, but I think the reflecting is like the most important part of the entire process because you're not going to get any better if you don't like slow down for a second.
I would love to wrap this up by asking you more about how you're going to share your film once it's done. What are your goals with the self distribution part of the process?
So what I'm doing right now is I'm talking with independent movie theaters. I want to premiere this movie in a movie theater. And so I'm talking with independent movie theaters, micro cinemas, things like that. It will also be available on physical media. So throughout the course of this process, I got all my films onto physical media after I got the copyrights back from the distributors. So more importantly, that was for me because I wanted, if somebody ever wanted to watch a copy of the movie, I wanted to hand it to them. So just to be like, hey, here's a link. I
Hmm.
wanted you, and then if you don't like it, you can hand it on to somebody else, or you can keep it, or whatever you want to do with it. But yeah, the biggest thing that I'm going to attempt to do is this kind of in this weird way of trying to be more transparent. I'm starting kind of like this, I guess for lack of better words, collective. But what I'm going to try to do is now that this, hopefully by the time this comes out, the channel will have been monetized. So it'll be making
Hmm.
pennies. And what I want to do is see if like this collaboration effort, what these companies like big corporations are doing with filmmakers where they're not paying them, but they're taking all the ad revenue and just giving them a platform, giving them lots
Hmm.
of views, but no money. I want to see if instead of doing that, I could help with the collaborations. We split the money off of the AdSense while it's also driving traffic to the channel you're trying to start while you're creating. So I want to see if there's like this kind of middle class infrastructure I
Hmm.
hate calling it distribution because that's such a bad thing, but so let's call it collective instead. But like I was saying earlier, that there is no transparency of the numbers, anything like that. We did a collaboration. It may not have a lot of views yet, but you can see everything I can see on your channel, right?
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
So there is no lying. So if we collaborated together, it's like I'm going to give you, whatever it ends up be of the AdSense. Like
Hmm.
you're going to be able to see the numbers. You won't see the AdSense number because that's on my channel because I uploaded it. But I could send you a screen grab of that and be like, hey, here's your check. Here's all the analytics, all these kind of things.
Hmm.
And just knowing that the deals that I've done never made any money, it was like, okay, I mean, even if I was making like $12 a quarter, that would have been exponentially more than what it was.
Yeah.
And also, these are going to be like 6 month to year windows. Ideally, that in that time, you're working on getting your channel built. So
Hmm.
if you think about it, it's going to be called VHF 21. So it's like a little play on old TV,
Hmm.
VHF and UHF, and kind of like local access. Um, and the reason it's going to end up on this kind of like internet version of it at first, ideally it'll be over the air eventually. So because there oddly enough is a lot of people that they don't have high speed internet to do all the stuff that we're talking about. So I want to try to get it
Hmm.
into kind of those local ecosystems, but it's also what I'm making with that is for a TV station I'm having to build for this feature I'm writing.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
making a fake
Okay.
TV station that's in the movie that one of the characters works at, and the kid is
Okay.
watching all the content, so he's getting all that information. So it's a way to teach media literacy. It's a way to help other filmmakers and artists get known. So if you have some weird stuff, I want to play with that and make kind of like a
Hmm.
mixtape for the internet, if you will, and that
That's
way people can
cool.
watch it. And but yeah, then it'll kind of get housed in its own wrapper. And but that VHF 21 is going to end up being like an organization. And so on there, I'm going to have on the front page, this is the contract we use. This is the numbers. Like I'm literally going to make a page that has all the transparency on it
Oh,
before you
wow.
even submit to me. So if you want to be part of this, this is really what's happening up front.
Hmm.
Whereas most of them, you're going to have to get a sales agent to even get in touch with the distributor. That person's going to
Okay.
take some of the money before they even get it to you. So it's like all these middle people that happen. But
Hmm.
what I found out is there's a lot of corporations right now that are doing this business model. And I don't think people understand that yeah, the creators are not making any money, even if their film has 20 million views on those channels.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people think that they are making like
That's
bunches
what
of money, you know?
yeah, the first thing I when I sent it to like my parents that the channel got to 1,000, like, oh my god, how much money is it making? And it's like zero. It's still making $0. It's I think the newest report or something is like 0.25% of creators make enough to like make a living on YouTube,
Mm.
and there's 112 million channels on there. So take with that
That's
what you will.
crazy. Yeah.
What's good is it's yeah, you have an open TV station, and I think I was just like I was talking to one of my old film students that just graduated from college, and I was like, imagine the 10 of you filmmakers. If one of you was really good at monetizing YouTube, and then you guys owned your own collective TV station now, you all are transparent with it. It's like
Mm.
there just is no money out there for the other things. So you're going to have to find these new kind of windows to help you and your friends platform. And if you have a platform that's reaching out to, like I said earlier, with the distributor saying they only want people that have a reach or whatever, you just
Right.
be your own reach. What I've learned in 6 months is that channel that was basically non existent in 6 months of like actually focused work. That's also,
Hmm.
I'm not just doing it for that, I'm doing it to do another feature. Like, so make it part of I'm making it part of the practice. I'm not making it, I like, because I think a lot of people are just trying to do it as a get rich quick thing. And
Yeah, for sure.
that is not real. So I mean, it will be for a couple of people, maybe. Like
If they get lucky.
you might get one video and it might blow up. And there's
Hmm.
one creator I saw that had their channel blew up and got monetized from an editing video of like DaVinci Resolve,
Oh,
and he's
really?
not an editor. He was just talking about the things he was using for the channels basically to edit,
Mm.
and it was cool. And he's like, it was like almost a year to undo that because I was in the wrong audience now. None of the people wanted to watch my other stuff because they thought I was an editor. So
Uh,
when I heard that video, I deleted like 5 or 6 videos that I'd put up when I was just experimenting because I was like, I don't want to be known for that. Like, I don't want that to be the one that blows the channel up.
mhm.
So if you're thinking about the virality of it right now, where you're uploading things, eventually something is going to work.
Mhm.
So which version of you do you want that to be? And I was
Yeah,
like, I
that's
don't
a
want to
good
be
point.
the angry person yelling into the internet. I don't want to be this version. Like, I don't want to be this. And so the consistency, eventually something's going to pop. And when that
Hmm.
happens, you just hope that it's the right thing. And
Yeah.
thankfully, the one that has happened over the last couple of months was a screenwriting tutorial about me doing it in real time and showing you everything, which is like realistically the version of myself I wanted to put on the internet, was like this long form, like watching me fail in real time.
Hmm.
And I don't think I would have put that up by anything that I was listening to. I would have chopped it up. I would have deleted it. It would have been too long. It would have been too slow. It would have been whatever. And that video, over the last 6 weeks went from like 200 to 10,000 views and has gotten
Wow. That's
300
amazing.
subscribers. But that's something from like August or September when I was just like, no, I'm going to do this and see what happens. And when I put it up and it got like 12 views and then it was like not at 100, I was like, oh, that was
Yeah.
a bad idea. But then something, because of the consistency of doing that same thing, now everybody knows that's kind of what the channel is. But if
Okay.
you pop off with this one thing, your audience is going to think that's what you do. So
Yeah.
it's like I think I'd never really heard anybody talking about that until like this one. I don't remember. I mean, maybe if I should have wrote the guy down, but I didn't want
That's
him to get a bunch
okay.
of followers that were also not in this right niche, so
Yeah.
I didn't say it out loud. But yeah,
No, yeah, I've seen a lot of DaVinci Resolve videos recently from like content creators and things
yeah,
like that, but I have heard of people going viral for the wrong things and they kind of get stuck and then their audience is expecting more, but that's not like what they want to do or what, it's just like part of their process or like not something that they want to amplify. So I think that's a really good point to just like it's good to experiment and try new things, but like maybe if you see like that traction coming to your YouTube or your videos or something, like just make sure that it's something you want to be known for people to come and learn stuff from you and everything like that.
yeah, and just I mean, you can combine them together, so it can be like your tutorial, but in your style. Like, so make sure it's still people
Yeah.
know what you're doing. So like I'm about to do some woodworking stuff, but I want you to know it's for a film. So it's like I'm still showing you how to make a
Yeah.
film. I don't want to fall into the woodworking category because I'm going to be the weirdest person in that niche. So it's like I don't want to
Yeah.
get 1,000 woodworking people, and then it's like that's the only woodworking video I have.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
that's funny. Yeah, you're not like making birdhouses or
I
something
have
like
made a birdhouse, but no, I'm not the birdhouse guy.
yeah, that's funny. Amazing.
I guess the only thing I would leave you with for anybody pivoting, because my conversation was about something I've been doing for like 15 to 20 years, so it's been all within that same kind of world ish,
Mhm.
is that you're going to meet a lot of people on your journey, and you're going to meet a lot of people that say they know exactly how to do it, and we're all full of shit. None of us know what we're doing. We're guessing, we're having fun. You should make what you
Mhm.
want to watch, and that's it. And because if you don't want to watch it, nobody else is going to want to watch it.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like if you can't get through like an Instagram reel or a YouTube video that you made, then maybe somebody else might have a hard
Yeah,
time
can you
getting through it
watch
too.
28 minutes of you talking about this topic? Now that I'm going back and cutting some of it out, no, I should have never put it up. I should have cut it way out before, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was learning. So now I've learned and
Yeah.
that's the reflecting process. But yeah, none of us really know what we're doing. We're all guessing. And then, yeah, it just changes so fast. And the internet is incentivized to make those videos pop. So as soon as you
Hmm.
know that, you can just like move past them. Like you can just put a
Hmm.
put a thumbs down or I'm not interested. And so because I think a lot of people start asking like, well, how does the algorithm work? The
Hmm.
algorithm's goal is just to get your videos seen by people. So
Hmm.
whatever you do, if you do that enough times, you're going to teach the algorithm that's this is me, and then it's going to find
Hmm.
your audience. If you wanted to do it fast, then you might be known for the birdhouses, and that's not what you
Hmm.
wanted.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just make the things that you want to do, and if you're willing to do it for the next, as a part of your practice, and if this is something you really want to do with your life, then that consistency is, it's things I did in college that are paying off now. Like it's just I've been
Hmm.
doing it just for so long that eventually something will work because I'm willing to reflect and I'm willing to change my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Period. So where would you like to direct people to connect with you after this?
Yeah, I think so. The YouTube will be below, I assume, or on this channel somewhere. Yeah, but BronsonCreative.us is where everything is housed. So you can see everything from the education to the experimental stuff that I'm doing with VHF 21. That'll be up there as well. And yeah, and I also have something, that'll be on there if you're a filmmaker and you finished a film and you need help with getting it out in the world. Send me a screener. Let's watch it. Let's talk about it, and see if we can use our collective reach, and maybe you can distribute it on your own. Maybe you already have
Amazing.
everything you need.
Hell yeah, I love to hear it. Yeah, I'm definitely going to link all of your social links, website, Substack, YouTube,
Yeah.
everything in the
Yeah, Substack and
description.
YouTube are kind of like where I'm spending most of my focus because I realize
Hmm.
there's just like the other apps, they're not paying me to give them free content anymore, really.
Yeah. Hmm.
But there is Instagram and I'm on there a little bit, but if you want to get a hold of
Hmm.
me, the best way is like through those other platforms.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I'll also link the video that we did on your channel as well for
Oh,
anybody
heck
who's
yeah.
listening who'd like
Yeah.
to watch that. But yeah, thank you so much for being on Dear Creator. I really appreciate you sharing your insight and perspective and stories and all of that. I feel like this is a super valuable episode.
I appreciate you having me on board and yeah, and what you're doing for creatives to like actually have a place to talk about the truth of it and get a little bit more, I guess, serious than just like go watch my movie.
Yeah.
Which you
Yeah,
can,
well,
but you don't
amazing.
have to.
Yeah, they definitely should. All right. Well, thank you, Jerry.
Yeah, my pleasure.